What's going on, Dragon Ballers? We're back with another sub-requested video. This time we have the Lord Slug leader. So this is a new leader coming out of set 4. Green and yellow leaders are being very overlooked right now because there is honestly a lot of hate towards them, like especially towards yellow, because there's Cronoa for Shigesh, there's minus Killy Zone for Bloodlust, but even against green leaders there's things like Flute into Haru Haru, which can kind of give green some headaches. But I think this leader is still really strong because he has access to a lot of cool cards. So we'll get into the deck profile. So Lord Slug on the Unawakened side is basically the set 1 Vegeta. Take a life to hand, gain critical, awaken at 4 life, draw 2 cards, and then it becomes Lord Slug Gigantified. So when he attacks, he draws a card, and activate main once per turn, discard a card, and your opponent also has to discard a card. So I really like on the backside how it's not the same thing as Vegeta, where you can keep taking lives to keep gaining critical, because that effect kind of becomes unsustainable in the later part of the game because you are putting yourself in lethal range. So I like how this leader doesn't have to put himself deeper into lethal range with his backside ability. So that's really strong, and like every turn you're getting a card on your Unawakened side, and you're drawing 2 Unawakened, so your backside ability isn't very taxing, and we're going to use it to feel some overwhelm. So we'll get into the main deck. We've got 2 Relentless Destruction Mira. This card, if you're able to drop it on your leader's Awakened side, is really strong because you make your opponent ditch 2. It's also good on your front side if you can get 3 in the drop that early. Make them discard 1, swing at them for a critical, pump this into it, make it a 15k crit. Really strong. Scientist Fu, best cheap game ender in the game. I can't tell you guys how much I love this card enough. Then we have a small blue package. We have 4 energy boosted Majin Buu. It's a good turn 1 play, better blue energy. Main reason we are playing this blue package is for Senzu Bean. So this deck naturally wants to aggro the opponent because of its critical, but we still need to have a little bit of energy manipulation in order to have some form of defense on our opponent's turn, because aggro is going to be very prominent next format, so we want to have some sort of defense. So that's why we're playing this blue package mainly for Senzu Bean. And then we have the 2 Creative Chart Yajirobe. This was mostly to fill out the blue package at 14, but the reason I went with 2 Yajirobe is because this card actually does serve a good purpose in the current meta. It's really strong against a lot of aggro decks, especially like SS3 aggro at later parts of the game after they've gone through most of their flutes. So this is one way to kind of set up a brick wall against your opponent, and it's a really good card in the blue package. Only requires 1 blue, so it fits right in. Then we have 4 Sneak Attack Vegeta. So this is a new card coming out of set 4. What it does is it has barrier, and when this card attacks a leader card, your opponent chooses 1 card from their hand and places on top of their deck. So it's more hand control, which is kind of the theme of what the leader wants to do. It's a good blue energy early game, and in matches where you're going to go into later games, like against slower decks, this card is just a grind card, because you have to drop this in the late game for 3 energy. It's a cheap threat that threatens an awakened leader and forces your opponent to basically set themselves back a turn. So whatever card they're going to get off the top of their deck, from their draw phase, from super comboing, from Unbreakable Spirit Son Goku, it's not going to be a new card, so it's not going to add anything to their game plan. So this kind of hand control is really strong. So I really like it with this leader and added to this blue package. Now for the green package, we have access to full power energy, so we're playing it. This card is really strong against these 1-drop flute decks, so it's very typical against a deck like that. If you read it off of playing against a blue leader, you will typically just charge a green and pass, and this card does its job really well. Then we have Sacrifice. So I'm a really big fan of these negates that can be activated without paying their cost, just by taking a life if your leader is a certain race. So this leader is Namekian, so we can use Sacrifice. The really cool thing about this thing is that, let's say your opponent's swinging at you with a double strike or triple strike, and that's showing lethal. You can use Sacrifice even if you're tapped out and take that 1 life. So you negated the attack, and you didn't take the double strike or triple strike. So it's really strong. The really cool thing too, like let's say I went first against SS3 leader with SS3 GT. They drop their 1-drop Trunks, right? They swing, I have a green energy open, I negate with full power energy, and they're like, oh crap, you just destroyed my 1-drop, I gotta play another one. So they may be inclined to, if they don't have the right energy, they might be inclined to swing their leader so that they can either like Senzu Bean or Unyielding Trunks. And then you sacrifice, and you get a card off a life so you don't lose a card. And then they can't combo their Senzu Bean. So they're at 5 life at that point, and they don't have any other attackers to start their combos back up to awaken that turn. So then your next turn, you can do a lot of damage swinging with your leader with a critical and comboing like a further instruction Champa, or potentially that on top of a newfound Power Stone Gohan. I wouldn't really recommend that because that would involve you tapping out, but it's a great way for you to go back on their turn and put a lot of pressure back on them. So that's a nifty little way to play defense against a deck like that. So then we do have the new Foul Power Stone Gohan. It's more critical in the deck. It's more help self-awakening. Really, really strong one-drop. We want to play a lot of cards in this deck that have very cheap energy investments because we don't want to be really tapping out on most of our turns because we do want to play defense. So this is a great threat for that. Then we have the 2 Dark Vassal Tambourine. This thing is a new common coming out of the set 4. It's essentially a vanilla except for it has critical, which is pretty strong on its own. The reason I'm playing this is because it's cheap energy investment for 1. For 2, it's critical. And for 3, I'm noticing as I play test this format more and more, these aggro decks, they don't really care what's on your battlefield. They just want to attack your life, swing out, and try and kill you as fast as possible. So cheap threats like this will typically survive. So if you can survive that aggro, this thing will stay on the board almost every turn and become a 15k crit threat every single turn that your opponent has to try and defend off of. So I really, really like this in the deck for that reason. Then we have our super combo, Namekian Duo Sunel. This card's really good. I really like the super combos that are active at 5 life or less. It just helps you when your opponent's trying to put you from like 5 to 3, because that's always an awkward number to be at. It makes it that much easier for your opponent to kill you, especially against the SS3 GT deck. So you can super combo at 5 life if you need to stave off a double strike, and then you don't have to really worry about awakening next turn, because at the worst case scenario your leader will just take a life. Then you get to your awakening at a nice smooth 4 life. So that's really, really good. And then we have Koei Keymaster. I'm so happy that green got a combo into play battle card. This is so good for this color. TN in set 2 just didn't really get the job done because it was just a clunky combo. The spot removal and the self-awakening was nice, but I'm so happy that this is a card in green now. Really, really great for defense. Then we have 4 Combo Killer Anilaza. So this card is definitely a late game finisher. It's got barrier, double strike, and auto once per turn. When your opponent combos, they choose 1 card in their hand and place it in the drop area. So whether your opponent's trying harder to kill you and comboing, they have to discard cards, or if you're swinging at them trying to pressure lethal, they have to discard cards. So this card's really, really good. Goes right on theme with what the deck's trying to do, which is deny your opponent resources and limit their hand size. Then we're playing a leader that has critical, so you got to play the 4 further instruction Champa. Just bread and butter right there. So yeah, this is the sub-requested Lord Slug deck. This is how I kind of feel the deck can be played well. Green and yellow leaders, like I said before, are really being slept on. They're definitely stronger than people give them credit for. So if you see one at your locals, you see one at a regionals, you see one at an ARG circuit series, you need to really respect what they can do. They can put a lot of pressure on, especially a leader that takes a life to gain critical. And I like how this deck has access to a lot of cool things that other decks don't, like a super combo at 5 life, like a negate like sacrifice, like something that goes really well with Sneak Attack Vegeta and Combo Killer Anilaza. And of course full power energy, which is just a great meta call. So yeah, that's the deck profile. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. Please subscribe. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, opinions, thoughts, dislikes, likes on the deck, please let us know in the comments below. This is Joey from CrossFit TCG, and we'll see you next time.